Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here with you guys. We are making like super special because I actually developed this recipe this week just for this class. So this is very exciting. I hope you all are very excited to cook along with me. I am very pregnant, so I am going to use my stool today. I've been having some complications, but you know what? I figured this is really good because cooking with migraine is not easy. Cooking in your third trimester is not easy. But these recipes are easy. So I want you all to know that we can get through today. We can get through anything, right? So feel free. I love questions. Feel free to ask questions along the way. I'm happy to stop and answer them. You're not interrupting me. I want you guys to get the most out of this class. And throughout this whole process, I'm also going to give you edits for vegetarian. I'm going to give you edits for dairy-free and gluten-free as well. So you can basically make these recipes for almost anyone. So without further ado, let's get started on, we're going to make chicken and artichoke puff pastries. So these are super, super delicious. I have a chicken Wellington recipe on my website. If you love beef Wellington, it's like a more economical version, which is really nice. But for this, it's kind of finicky. Like you have to grind up the mushrooms and everything like that. And for this, I wanted something super easy. Like say you're having company over and you're having a Christmas dinner and you don't want to spend a lot of time cooking. You just want something very simple ingredients, but that looks fancy. This is that recipe. So we're going to get started. You just need a large saute pan, some olive oil. I have 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts right here. I'm just going to be making 4 of these today because we're going to have them for dinner, and my husband and I, it's just the 2 of us. So I'm going to make 4 little puff pastries today. But you can always double this recipe very, very easily too. I find that even making 4 of these, I still have a little bit of leftover chicken and artichoke filling for it. So if that's you too, you can serve it over brown rice. Actually, my mom, who is gluten-free, the other night when I made this and she was here, instead of using a puff pastry for her, we just put the mixture over brown rice for her and she loved it. It was delicious. So that's an option if you're looking for something easy and gluten-free or you don't want to use the puff pastry. I think I threw the box. Wait, no, I have it, but I think I threw the box away. I picked up Trader Joe's puff pastry. It's like an all butter puff pastry. That's like the best tasting to me. But Pepperidge Farm, theirs is actually dairy free. And you can get one called Schar, Schar. And I think I might have added it to the ingredient list too. That's a great gluten-free puff pastry brand. So you have 3 different options. I really like Trader Joe's because they have super simple ingredients, just very straightforward, not a long list. Pepperidge Farm, you get into the longer list, but at least it's dairy-free if that's an allergy or a sensitivity for you. And then the same with Schar, sometimes we just have to work with our sensitivities, right? So you have those 3 options to go. I always love to cook with boneless. I always love to cook with air chilled chicken. So I got this from Whole Foods, but you can usually find boneless, skinless, air chilled chicken breasts almost everywhere. And the reason for that is they're less likely to be injected with solution. So what's kind of interesting about even picking out chicken is you have to look at the ingredients, and a lot of people with migraine don't realize that even their raw chicken, if you're buying something sometimes really inexpensive, they're often injected with certain solutions. Sometimes those can contain MSG. So if MSG is an issue for you, that's something to watch. Air chilled chicken, you generally don't have that issue with. It's normally just chicken. the way it's processed is by moving through chambers of air. And so I actually focus on air chilled even more than using organic chicken. If you can afford both, great. But I would say choosing air chilled is going to give you the best flavor and also just cook the best overall. So that's what I'm here for, is to give you like things that cook the best with the best flavor, that have, no MSG added or that sort of thing. So in that case, I really love air chilled chicken. So we're just going to chop these into bite-sized pieces and move them to our saute pan with olive oil. I'm waiting to turn that on. You want to make sure your oven's on to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. And if you can prep a sheet pan with a little bit of parchment paper, that'll be great too. That's what they'll go on. So these come together pretty quickly. So I'm just going to chop this chicken into smaller bite-sized pieces. And I don't know how close you guys can see. I use a special cutting board just for raw chicken. Generally not wood. I use like a plastic board because it's easier to clean, a little more sanitary. So I like to keep my raw meat separated from like veggies and things like that. I'll use like a wooden cutting board for those. But just makes the cleaning process a little bit easier. And, you can even bleach stuff like this without having to worry about it seeping in like you do with wood. So I also really like, one of the things that's super important too when cooking with migraine is to use really good quality knives. So today, I actually have one that's made for my hand, which is really nice. It's a lot smaller than this one, but I'm using a Wusthof knife for today. And it basically is, I think the chef's knife runs close to $100. It's not cheap, but you can sometimes get it on sale during this time of year. And I really like these knives. They sharpen really well. They cut really well. If your knives haven't been sharpened in a while, that's also something you probably want to do. It will actually make your life a lot easier in the kitchen cooking with migraine because, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to cut something and not being able to cut through it, right? So if you are struggling to cook in the kitchen, you feel like it's a big hassle, that's something I would invest in, is a really good quality knife. The other thing I want to tell you, and if you've attended my cooking classes before, you've heard this ad nauseum, but when you hold your knife, it's best to hold it. Most knives are made for men, go figure. But if you're on this call and you're a guy, hey, that's great. Your knives are probably perfectly fitted to your hand. But for us, like smaller ladies, we have to hold our knives closer up to the edge around the neck area. And I put my 2 fingers around the blade, not close to the blade, but around the neck, kind of grip up on it. And this gives me some stability when cutting versus I see a lot of people hold their knives back here and then they don't have the same, like, it's not as easy for me to cut. You don't have that same stability at all. So if you're cooking dizzy or with a lot of pain, that doesn't give you a lot of control over where you're cutting, and that's where accidents can happen. So if you grip up, you have a lot of control over where that knife is going. And it's better if you're working with a little bit of dizziness or that head pain, So I've got everything chopped up. We're going to season this when it goes to the pan. Oven is preheating. You know what? Let's get this in the pan first. I'm still going to wait on the artichoke hearts, but we'll do that for now. So we're just going to transfer this over to the cooking area. I'm not going to move my camera right now because my hands are all chickeny, but I will come back if you guys can do the same thing to you, to wherever you are. I'll stay with you in here. Just gonna slide that over. I'm gonna make sure I wash my hands very thoroughly after handling the raw chicken, as well as my chef's knife, so I can continue to use that for the artichokes as well. Are there any questions so far?
Alicia, hi, it's Shirley. Are we just sauteing the chicken in the pan right now?
Don't turn it on just yet. I want to prep the artichokes first and get those ready, so we can add those in as well around the same time.
So we're going to put the chicken and artichokes together, so we need a pretty big saute pan.
Yes,
Okay.
like I'll show you mine. Let me go grab it. So this is what mine looks like. I'm using just kind of a nonstick large pan like this.
Okay.
So this is actually a little large for it, but you know, a medium saute pan should work as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And then I have a few artichoke hearts left over from the other day when I made this, so I'm going to use those. But if you're using canned, we just need to rinse them, which will give them, you know, a better flavor, and let them dry off. So we're going to drain them out of this liquid that they're in. You know, some people with vestibular migraine also have issues with salt, so this is a good way to kind of rinse off that excess salt as well, if that's an issue for you, especially like those that have Meniere's as well. So these have already been washed and cleaned. I'm just going to take these out of the can and run them under water just with my hands. You want about a cup of chopped artichoke hearts. I'm going to run these under and then dry them off really good. You can use them out of the can. You can use them frozen and just defrosted. You want to squeeze out any excess water that they have between your hands. And the paper towels will help with that too, or you could use just kitchen towels.
Alicia,
so make sure.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You use marinated artichoke hearts?
I would just, unless you like the flavors in them, I would just use plain. But
Okay.
if you are a big fan of the flavors and you think they'll work well in this recipe, then go for it. Yeah.
I'm just not familiar with that type of cheese, so I didn't know how it would go.
Yeah, so depending on what Boursin you got, usually I probably should have said like don't use cranberry because that wouldn't have gone with this. But like their black pepper Boursin is really good with this. The garlic and fine herbs would work with this, which is generally what people can find. So it looks like this. You can also use cream cheese if you want, or if you are doing this dairy-free, you can just leave it out. You don't even need cheese in it. Or for me, I can't ever find a dairy-free cheese that works for me because one of my triggers is nuts, and they all have nuts in them. But if that works for you, that would work in this recipe as well. But the thing about using just like plain cream cheese or like one of those dairy-free substitutes is they're not already flavored. So that's what's kind of nice about like the Boursin black pepper or the Boursin garlic and herb is they're already flavored. Even they have a shallot and chive one that would work for this too. So I liked that, especially cooking with migraine, because it's like one less thing that you have to add all the spices and everything like that. If you are using plain cream cheese in this recipe, then you would want to add maybe like 2 cloves of garlic, your favorite herbs. So like chopped up, either dried or chopped up rosemary, thyme, parsley, chives, that kind of stuff. Make sure you mix that in to give it some extra flavor too. But shortcut, just use one of these. And they actually make a really good dairy-free Boursin cheese. And a lot of my readers seem to do really well with it. The struggle with dairy-free cheese sometimes is they add MSG to get kind of that savory flavor to it. But people seem to react well to that, especially the dairy-free Boursin. So, and I know they have it at Trader Joe's. I just passed by it this morning. So, hey, that's something that would work here as well.
Could you use Laughing Cow? Because it's kind of creamy.
You know, I don't really use Laughing Cow all that much. I don't know how it would work in this recipe. I think it's more of an aged cheese too, actually. So I generally don't recommend it for my readers who are like doing, you know, elimination diets and stuff like that. But if you, I say, hey, why don't you just try it one time and see?
Okay, thank you.
And report back, because that's usually how I get to know how things work for other people too. So I have about a cup of the artichoke hearts here. And I'm just going to turn on my pan and take you guys over with me to the cooking space. We can all cook together. So if you're sensitive to movement, just kind of look away from the screen for a little bit. Hopefully y'all are just cooking and don't care about what I'm doing right now. Okay. So let me see if I can prop this up here. Oh, we got my other pot for the white chocolate thing. But
Hi, I was just wondering about how much olive oil do you put in the pan?
put about half a tablespoon to a tablespoon of it.
Thank
You
you.
just measure with your heart.
Hi, Lori.
Olive oil.
Hi, Katie. Great to see you. I'm here cooking. My husband, my mom, my son was helping me prep some ingredients. You want me to?
Oh, great. That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, olive oil is actually, you know, great. It's one of those healthy brain foods. So yeah, if you want to measure with your heart on that one, that's not a bad idea. So I turned mine up to like medium high heat. I'm just going to season this with a little bit of kosher salt. And then you don't need too much kosher salt because the cheese is kind of salty, unless you're using like a plain cheese. And then I like a lot of fresh ground pepper. So we're going to add that in too. Get that going. I'm going to let this try to brown for a little bit while we do that. And then before I add my artichoke hearts, I'm also going to grab my fresh spinach and my broth. So I think if you're making the same amount as me today, which is just one pastry sheet, this is basically all you need. If you're gonna make two, again, you'll need like 2 cups of artichoke hearts chopped, and then you'll need about 4 cups of fresh spinach. But if you're making half the recipe, you'll just need about 2 cups of fresh spinach. So I'm gonna grab that. Oh no, did I put that in the? Okay. I think that might have been a slip up by me, because I don't see that I added broth to the recipe. So I'm very sorry. I think that is my pregnancy and migraine brain showing itself. If you have any broth on hand, that would be a great time to use it. We don't absolutely need it. I think these will still turn out without the broth. So if you don't have any on hand, no worries, we can still go forward. I think you'll still enjoy it. but it does make these a little bit more saucy.
How
I
much
like to
broth,
use,
Alicia, how much broth?
so about a quarter cup, quarter to a third of a cup.
Is that as we're cooking the chicken, Alicia, or when it's cooked?
We're gonna wait to add it. So just
Okay.
keep it on hand. We're gonna add it after everything is cooked through, just to kind of make our sauce. So you can use chicken broth, you can use vegetable broth. I really like to use Trader Joe's hearty vegetable broth. Doesn't have MSG, it's just really simple ingredients too. What can get kind of tricky with vegetable broths is they do tend to add some kind of flavoring. They tend to be really high in sodium. So something to watch for, but again, it all comes down to what you're sensitive to.
Do
as
you
well.
know, Alicia, when you go to buy organic broth in the store and it says natural flavor, is that
Yeah.
still a component of MSG or like you know?
Yes. So like typically natural flavorings can get kind of tricky because they put them in a lot of things. Like they can be in like sweet things. And so sometimes it can just be things like vanilla, but generally in broth, it's to add a savory flavor. And so it usually points to MSG. You can email the company and they will never tell you that it's actual MSG. They will say, oh no, it's natural flavoring, but they won't be very specific about it. But it is one of those ways they can get away with kind of saying, oh, you know, no MSG in it, while still having something very high in glutamate. So
Joe's doesn't use it then, you're saying? Because I have looked at their labels, but I've never seen
yeah,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's why I really like their hearty vegetable broth. I have one here. If you are sensitive to onion, it does have onion in it, but otherwise it's like onion powder and it's super low on the list. So I find it like not very triggering for people. But yeah, this is just, I don't know if you can see, it's just like really simple ingredients. No natural flavors, nothing like
Alicia,
that.
what was the name of that one again from Trader Joe's?
It's the hearty vegetable broth.
Hearty vegetable. Thank you.
I also have, if you don't have access to Trader Joe's or whatever, it's actually really easy to make your own broth. If you have an Instant Pot, just dump a bunch of your leftover vegetables. So it's a great way to use up like scraps from celery or carrots. I'll usually put either a leek in there or a shallot. And all you have to do is set it to pressure cook for about 30 minutes. You put some garlic in there, some herbs, like fresh herbs, like rosemary in there. And it makes really, really good vegetable broth, like super fast and easy. So if you find that you're sensitive to like a lot of things, that's the way to go. The recipe is in my first cookbook, The Dizzy Cook, and I have a chicken one in there too that I really like. But yeah, that's what I would recommend if you don't tolerate onion. Actually, and there's a brand called Fody, F-O-D-Y. They have a like a kind of like a bouillon mixture that you can mix with water. I haven't personally tried it yet, but a lot of people seem to like that one too. So another one, if you're sensitive to onion or garlic even, that's a good one to try out as well.
Alicia, I think somebody,
Yeah.
They're asking again about the number of chicken breasts. So did you use 2 chicken breasts?
I
And
just used 2 chicken breasts cut up.
Okay. So does that
So
help? I think it was a Lori that asked if you're using 2, do you follow the recipe as listed or adjust?
If you're using 2 chicken breasts.
Yeah,
Oh, that the recipe I sent out is 2 chicken breasts.
perfect.
Yeah. I'd say it's about like maybe 3/4 pound of a pound of chicken breasts. Maybe slightly less. There's about 2 full cups of diced chicken in here. So if you even wanted to cut this, like if you wanted to cut corners here too and make this even easier on yourself, You could use a rotisserie chicken. So I try to tell people to find like a naked rotisserie chicken, which is just chicken with, usually olive oil or salt. You can get this at like Sprouts, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Fresh Market, some of the smaller grocery stores, and they are, that would work here too as well. So our chicken is pretty much cooked through. I'm going to add in the artichokes now. Again, if you were not prepared, I'm so sorry about this broth thing, but if you don't have broth on hand or whatever, don't worry about it. We can also use a little bit of water as well. I think you'll have plenty of flavor if you're using the Boursin cheese too. So we're going to add that in. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit. Use about medium
What heat are
heat.
you on? What level heat are you on?
I'm on medium right now. I was kind of vacillating on medium high earlier just to get this going a little faster.
Thank you.
But generally I like to cook it about a little on the medium, slightly medium high side.
Thank you.
And then, okay, we're adding, what did I say? 2 cups of fresh spinach leaves. So if you want to measure out, my mom is big about measuring. That's what, feel free to measure your ingredients exactly. Again, I've just kind of measured with my heart right here, but I've gotten pretty good at eyeballing amounts over the years. So we're just gonna let that, the artichokes kind of heat through. We're gonna let the spinach wilt a little bit. And then we're gonna mix in our cheese. So my spinach is starting to wilt down and soften just a little bit. I don't want it completely wilted, so I'm going to turn off the heat right now and go grab my cheese. I am just using half of a Boursin cheese that I have left over. The Boursin garlic and herbs. I'm going to just drop that in. Again, you want your heat totally off when you add in cheese. We're going to add in a little bit of that broth too. Again, just about a 1/4 cup of that broth. And let that cheese melt in to make a sauce. I thought this was great with just half of a Boursin, but I can see how people would want more cheese. So if that's you, you can feel free to add the entire cube of Boursin if you'd like. Again, it'll just be super, super cheesy. See how it's kind of turning into a creamy sauce. Now, if you are using, like, let's say you're using their dairy-free tub, so all you would have to do, don't use the whole tub. A block of Boursin is 5.2 ounces. So if you have like a kitchen scale, that would be a lot more accurate to use about 2.5 to 3 ounces to weigh it out. So I would just scoop it out of that tub and put it on your kitchen scale. I'm not sure how else you would weigh it. Hopefully you all have kitchen scales. I know people look at me like I'm insane. A kitchen scale is a very valuable tool. Especially
Alicia,
for
on the recipe, it says that there on the ingredient list, it said that, everyone needed a 5-ounce tub of Boursin cheese. There's a little bit of confusion. Like, so you only need half of the Boursin cheese, like for your recipe, correct?
Yes, you
Okay.
only need half, but you can use, it doesn't come in smaller amounts. So I just told everyone to buy a 5-ounce Boursin. But I only use half, but you can use the whole entire thing. I'm just adding a little bit of extra cream cheese in here to add a little bit of, instead of opening up a new Boursin, I'm adding like an extra tablespoon of cream cheese in here just to make this a little more creamy. But again, you can do whatever works for you. If you're trying to make this a little bit lighter in calories, half the Boursin is a good idea. Or if you're like all in, it's Christmas, I want to make this as cheesy as possible, just use the whole cube. Super, super versatile recipe.
Alicia, I have a question. So we put the whole thing of cheese in and it's really watery.
Okay, if it's really what, have you added your broth yet?
We did, we already added it.
Okay, so if it's watery, just turn the heat back on. That could be from, did you guys squeeze out your artichoke hearts really good?
Oh, well, maybe I didn't, I dried them, but I didn't squeeze them.
Yeah, so you just want all that water to get, and I probably didn't show that very clearly, but you just want all that water of the artichoke hearts like super squeezed out. So that's kind of why I
Okay.
like to use paper towels and everything, but for next time.
Right.
But there are 2 ways to remedy this. So it's a great question. So you can turn back on the heat and cook it a little bit longer, try to get it to simmer down. If it's super, super watery, I would try adding about a teaspoon or 2 of flour, mix that in and see if it starts to thicken up. If that doesn't help, I would keep adding like another teaspoon of flour. But you want it to be kind of like this, where it's just coating the chicken, but there's not a ton of sauce to it. Also,
Shirley, mine's pretty watery too, and I think it's the cheese because it was pretty dry until I put the cheese in, and now it's watery again.
okay, that's okay. What we're gonna do is just lift it out of the pan. So like hopefully a lot of the wateriness will stay back as well. When we transfer it. Do you think that's okay?
Yeah, I think it'll be okay.
Okay.
As long
Yeah,
as
we
Okay.
added some flour. It's good.
It's thickening up. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're gluten-free, also like you can use arrowroot powder or you can use cornstarch as well, and that will do the same sort of thing as flour. Or if you have like a favorite 1-to-1 baking flour, that will work too. Just sprinkle a little bit of that in. So this is good. We worked through some problems today.
Alicia, someone was
Troubleshooting.
asking what the, if you have a brand of cream cheese you like, that for some, I'm sorry, if you have a brand of cream cheese that you have found that is migraine friendly.
Yes, there are lots of brands that are migraine friendly. The biggest ingredient you usually need to avoid is carrageenan. I see a lot of people have issues with carrageenan. Also, what I hate about carrageenan too in cooking is it just does not cook as well. So in things like cheesecake, it's going to get a little more grainy. Or in things like ricotta cheese, again, it gets a little more grainy. Having the natural ingredients or just like even just a few gums in there would work, but I generally see people have more of an issue with that. So with the carrageenan. So I would say Philadelphia brand is one that you can usually find like pretty readily available almost everywhere. That doesn't have it. And I think I'm using Trader Joe's today. I can't quite remember what brand I have. I take it out of the box. But like I know Whole Foods, like their organic one is okay. So I usually get whatever the brand store name is because it's a little less expensive, and just check for those ingredients. Also, this will thicken up too as it cools. So that's something to note as well. Oh, and if you if you get dizzy, I'm moving the camera. So heads up there. We're gonna move this over to a workspace. You can put it on a kitchen towel, just something to protect your countertops. Got my stool. Is everyone doing okay? No more emergencies, I hope. Silence usually means everyone's good. So that's good. All right, so you got your chicken here. Puff pastry, got that out. I am just going to take a little bit of flour and flour the surface of my cutting board a little bit, but you are welcome. If you don't want to use flour or whatever, you are welcome to just do parchment paper. Will also work to roll this out. It just tends to be a little bit easier to work with the puff pastry dough if your surface is floured. Roll that around, pat it a little bit. I've got to get my rolling pin out. Just gonna lay that on the surface. A little bit of flour on the surface. Okay. A nice little shortcut there for the puff pastry dough. Oh, there we go. The point that bending over is cutting off a lot of circulation. Woo, okay. So should have your puff pastry dough. We have that ready to go. Move this a little bit so you guys can see. And then I'm also gonna crack one large egg into like a small little ramekin here. And just use a fork to whisk it. You have a pastry brush or something like that, that would be great to use here. Or you can just use your hands. Either way will work. Okay, so we're gonna roll out this puff pastry dough just a little bit, not a ton, just a little bit to kind of give us a little more space to work with these little pockets. Okay, so I'm going to use a knife to cut this into 4 sections. Just like that. All right. Then I'm going to take a little bit of my chicken mixture, put it in to each pocket. Like this. Can y'all see okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. I like to fill these pretty full actually. But you will have some of the mixture left over. You can either make more pockets with it or again, just serve it over rice or just eat it by itself, whatever you want to do. Alrighty. So that's what they should look like. Let me put this over here. Get it out of the way. Do you happen to have any toothpicks that might be helpful? But I'm hoping hoping we don't need them. Let me just find them to show you guys what that would look like. So we're going to take opposite sides of the pocket and just close them, smush that together best you can. Same thing, opposite sides of the pocket, close it up, smush that together, okay? Should look like a little package, like a Harry Potter envelope. That's what it kind of looks like to me. Perfect for this season. If you want to be sure that these stick together, let's say it's like a big evening and you're like, oh, these need to look perfect. What I would do is just slide a little toothpick in between, and that will keep it held together. And then you can just unslide it out whenever you whenever these are fully cooked. So we're going to put these on our sheet pan that's covered with parchment paper. Does this all make, is this perfectly clear? Clear as mud? I actually think I could have filled these a little more full, but that's okay. I'll just add some when we have dinner.
Mine don't look as nice as yours.
It's okay. It's your first time making these. It's like my fourth time making these. So you get better at it the more you do it. They're still once they bake in the oven, they're so pretty. I'm sure you guys all saw the picture, but they just turn out just really beautiful. Okay. Cover that. There we go. And then here.
Alicia,
And yes.
I'm using this Nancy Harris Funk. I'm using the gluten-free silo. Pastry dough.
Yeah.
And it's a crumbly mess. I don't know if anybody else is having that problem.
Same, and I've used these before and they're always a crumbly mess. There's really no
The
way.
char.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh no. Well, if that's the case, don't worry. Can you kind of combine it and roll it back out again?
Well, they're already stuffed, so I'm just fudging it.
Okay, you know what? It's still going to turn out really, really delicious. I promise you.
I'm sure.
If they are turning into a crumbly mess, what you could do instead of trying to fold them and make them look all pretty pockets, just make them into patties. So just cut 4 pieces and kind of loop up the sides and stuff them in the middle, and that will work too.
Thank you.
I like this. We're troubleshooting everything. We're making it work. This is actually really good content for me when I go to write this post. Usually it's good to hear y'all's feedback, because then I can help with working through these problems as they occur. Okay, so I have my pockets here. Again, if you want to, you can just use your fingers, kind of brush this. If you have like a pastry brush and you're squeamish about eggs, go ahead and use that, but just kind of brush all over the top with the raw egg. And this is what will give it that nice, like golden brown, shiny sheen on it when they come out of the oven. If you are just using, if you're using the gluten-free and you're just doing like a little boat for it, you won't need to do this step. Or I guess you could do it around the edges of the crust too. If you have them kind of folded up, that would be nice. That's something to do as well. Some people tell me they have issues with eggs. They're generally, I get asked all the time, are those a common migraine trigger? I do hear of them triggering some people, but I try to say, you'll have a little bit of this left over, just save it for breakfast one day. I do hear people say it pretty often, but it's not something that you really want to eliminate unless you've completely ruled it out, because eggs are actually a really great brain food. Dr. Beh talks about it in the new cookbook, The Mediterranean Migraine Diet. So it's not something you want to eliminate without fully testing. That being said, I do find that some readers who are very sensitive to eggs tend to tolerate soy-free eggs really well. You can usually find these labeled. Most chicken feed is actually fed soy in them. It's just not put on the label. So if you're like super sensitive to soy, I think that's what kind of happens. And so I find that people who are sensitive to eggs, generally they can tolerate the soy-free eggs really well. So that's kind of a good way to incorporate it back into your diet. If you've eliminated them, give it a try and see if it works. It'll be very clearly labeled. So I found them before. We have a local grocery market here through HEB in Texas called Central Market. They have them for a really good price. You can also find them at Whole Foods, but they're like twice as expensive. So if you can find them locally, check for that first. But again, Whole Foods always seems to have those things. So we're gonna put this in the oven, 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, okay? Middle rack, use your middle rack. Oh, you know what? I have a water bath in here from a cheesecake. Did not check that before I did all this. Oh, well. Y'all, pregnancy and migraine brain is like something really special. I'm not sure how I ever got through my last trimester with George, but here we are. Okay.
For anyone that's feeling bad about the way yours are looking, I consider myself a decently experienced cook, and mine are a complete disaster. So, but I'm
Is
using
there anything I can do to help?
No, it's just the gluten-free puff pastries. It's just what they do. I've used
Okay.
3 other times before, and they're just a crumbly mess.
Oh no, I've had people tell me they love Char and they're really easy to work with. That's too bad.
Not had that experience, sadly.
Oh. Well, do they work as little boats, chicken boats? Is that an easier way to go?
Maybe it would have been, but I committed to folding them, and they just are how they are. They're gonna taste great. It always tastes good. It just looks like a disaster.
Well, hey, that's what matters the most, right?
Yeah.
You know what? Oh, go ahead.
Do you use convection, or how do you want the air going around it, or I'm confused of what to use.
I just use regular bake. I do have a convection function on my oven, but I find that a lot of people don't. So I don't like to make recipes that a lot of people can't make. So I am just using straight up oven 400 degrees Fahrenheit for this recipe, and that's what I do. If you have a convection oven, you can use it for this. It might decrease the cooking time a little bit, but it's not necessary. So
and if you're in the, like I'm in the mountains, do we need to do it a little longer, do you think?
You know
for
what?
elevation?
Let's check it at 20 minutes and see how it looks. If it's golden brown underneath and on the tops, we'll take it out. If yours needs a little more time, we'll add about 5 minutes to it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've made this a few times. Sometimes it comes out right at 20 minutes for me. Other times I've added about 3 minutes to it. It's one of those things that you can look, and I'll show you when it's done. You can look and kind of see if you like how it's ready. But the good news is everything inside is already cooked. So really we're just waiting on the puff pastry. So that's what you're worried about.
Alicia, can you make these in advance and then bake them later?
Yes. So what I would actually do, so you could put these back in the fridge, of course. But what I would actually do is you can actually bake them all the way through and then reheat them in the oven. So they reheat, I would say like turn it to about 350 to 400. Let's settle on 375. I would put them back in the oven at like 375 for about like 4 to 5 minutes. And they usually heat through really well and they crisp right back up. So yeah, if you're gonna do that, I would make sure that you air, like when you're cooking them, I would make sure that they're more like a light golden brown, like not, fully there. So that way, when you put them back in the oven, they get like nicely golden brown and crispy too. But they crisp back up. So I've done this actually with my chicken Wellingtons. I put those in the fridge for about a day or two and put them back in the oven and they're perfect. They crisp back up really nicely and just really beautiful. Okay, so we should be good with those. We should have them in the oven. We're gonna start on the Snickerdoodle truffles. Okay, does that sound like a plan?
Sounds delightful.
And how long do we cook the chicken for?
20 minutes.
Great.
We're gonna check it at 20 minutes and see. May need a few more minutes. I'll work through that with you guys to kind of show you what it should look like, because we have time. We should have time. Okay, let's get started on the truffles. So we are gonna mix the dough for these truffles. Our timing is not ideal because ideally I would like these to freeze for at least 30 minutes, but we're going to be running out of time. So it is what it is.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just had a quick question. I couldn't find out oat flour. I have oat milk flour. Is that the same thing? Or am I better off using all-purpose flour instead, or?
Oat milk flour?
Yeah, that's what it says. I think it has, I looked at the ingredients and it has oat milk flour. It says it's oats and water.
Oh, I have never heard of that before. You have me stumped. Does it look like regular flour?
It looks similar consistency. I had oat flour but it was expired. So, and it looks similar consistency.
If, you know what, if you're willing to give it a try, let's give it a try today. If not, what you can do, if you have rolled oats in your pantry and a food processor, all you can do is just process those in the food processor till they make flour. And that's basically oat flour. It's like a much more economical way to actually make oat flour. So that's what I did,
Lori. That's how I did.
Is rolled oats and old-fashioned rolled oats the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You just don't want steel cut. Don't do steel cut oats. Don't do, well, you could actually do quick cook, I think, are already pulsed a little bit. So you could just pulse them a little bit more. That would work. But yeah, don't use the steel cut oats.
Thank you.
I'm just lazy today, so I got the oat flour.
Oh no, Alicia, this is what I used. Is that wrong?
No. Oh yeah. Can't use the steel cut. It has to be rolled oats.
Oh darn. Okay.
Yeah. If you like what you would use for well, I say what
Oatmeal.
you would use for oatmeal, but then people use steel cut for oatmeal all the time.
Oh darn. But I made flour out of these, so that's wrong.
If you have regular, if you have regular flour, we can do that, but we have to cook it before we use it. Okay.
Gotcha.
That's the only reason I don't use regular flour in these, actually, because there is a health issue. You can get sick from just eating raw flour. So, but you didn't know that. Lots of people didn't know that. I've had many readers not read the side note on the recipe and make it with raw flour and not bake it, and they have been fine. No one has died yet, but just out of food safety reasons, we can use regular flour. We just have to bake it for a little bit. So I would bake it in your oven for about 5 to 7 minutes on like 350. And that should help kill any bacteria. So you can use that too. So we have worked through our flour issues. I think we are going to carry on. I am going to make this actually without a mixer today to show you that you don't need a mixer, but life is a lot easier if you have a mixer bowl or a KitchenAid or something like that. I'm using softened butter here, half a cup of softened butter. I use Kerrygold, which doesn't have any natural flavor added to it. That's not one that you have to use. It's just a brand I really like. The flavor is awesome. And you can get it for a good deal at Costco too. So I just buy a big thing of it at Costco. We're gonna add half a cup of butter. We are gonna do about a 1/4 cup of white sugar.
How much butter, Alicia?
Half a cup of butter.
I'm sorry.
Half a cup of butter. And then, so that should be 1 stick, or if you're using like a whole thing of Kerrygold, it'll just be like half of the block. If you're using like a block, or like 1 stick, I think is usually a half cup. And then I'm just using organic white cane sugar here. Actually, something that you can do, I don't know if I have any leftovers. I have like a little piece. But one thing I like to do, if you make your own vanilla bean extract, or you make a recipe with any kind of vanilla beans, just let them dry out for like a day or 2 on your counter. And you can mix them into your sugar, and it makes like the most amazing vanilla sugar. Just let it sit for about 2 days in your canister. It makes smells amazing. It's like a good way to add a little extra flavor to your baking recipes. And then we want 2 tablespoons of brown sugar too. Let me take that out. I'll show you this. One thing that I love that makes cooking a little more migraine friendly too, is these weird amount measuring cups. So like this one's like 2 tablespoons exactly. They'll have them for like 3/4 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons or whatever. And it's just like a nice little shortcut for whatever you're making that makes your life a little bit easier. So they have them at Williams-Sonoma. It's like a really good Christmas stuffing stuffer you could ask for. Stocking stuffer? Did I say that right? Wait. So there we go. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar to that. And I'm just gonna mix this up.
Does it matter if it's light or dark brown sugar?
I would use regular brown sugar, but dark brown sugar will just have a stronger flavor to it.
So
if you're
regular
a big
is
fan,
light.
yes. So I would
Okay,
use
thank you.
the light if you have it on hand. But if you're a big fan of that flavor, it would work with these flavors too if you want. So I have like 2 teaspoons of cinnamon going in. This is what'll give us that Snickerdoodle flavor. Snickerdoodle or cinnamon is actually one I get asked about a lot too, if that's a migraine trigger. Generally, no. Actually, there was a study that came out in 2020 that said Snickerdoodle that said cinnamon was really good for both preventing and getting rid of a migraine attack, which is kind of interesting because I think the focus is usually on ginger. So that was kind of interesting to see. I generally just see issues with people who have high histamine issues. And if that's the case for you, you don't tolerate spinach or strawberries or anything like that. So that's where I kind of only see the issue with cinnamon with people. Otherwise, feel free to use it as much as you want. Another key component to the Snickerdoodle flavor is cream of tartar, which kind of gives that tanginess that are in the background of regular Snickerdoodles. You don't have to use this, it's completely optional, but I just like a little tiny pinch of it. So maybe like 1/2 of a teaspoon I'm adding to it.
Alicia,
Just to make people
types of
say, what's that? Oh,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh, thank you. Are different
Uh-huh.
types of sugar, like cane sugar, maple syrup, etc., better or worse for migraines?
You know what? I haven't found a difference. Some people say that they tolerate maple syrup, like the unrefined sugars like maple syrup and honey better. At the end of the day, I don't see how, because I feel like it's all the same in your body, but you know, it's completely up to you and whatever you can seem to tolerate best, really. I just try to, I think it's what's most important is when you're consuming sugar to make sure you're doing it with a full meal. So where I see people run into issues a lot is where they're just eating like 10 cookies in the middle of the day and they haven't had a big lunch or they haven't had dinner yet. And they are, you know, just kind of eating on an empty stomach. And that can actually be a blood sugar issue. So if that's the case for you and you can't seem to figure out why this continues to happen, that may be something to look into. If you consistently have problems with it, like a dietitian can definitely help you with balancing your blood sugar a little bit better. But ideally, what we would do for these is just pair them, you know, with a full meal. So we're gonna have like this with our chicken puffs, and we'll have this with a big salad, or I usually like to serve these with a green beans, like just simple sauteed green beans. So I am trying to do this without a mixer. Obviously makes life a little bit harder, but again, just wanted to show you that you can do it.
Alicia, just so I'm clear, it's the sugars, the cinnamon, and the cream of tartar and the butter.
Yes,
That's it that we have in here right now, right?
That's it that we have in here right now. And then I'm gonna mix in the oat flour to all of this. And as well as the vanilla. So we have 2 teaspoons of vanilla going in. Oh, you know what? I didn't add enough cinnamon. Just 1/2 teaspoon. So 2 teaspoons. So I'm gonna add a little more cinnamon. I'm actually using, since we don't cook these, if you're super sensitive to alcohol, I recommend this. It's Trader Joe's alcohol-free vanilla. You don't have to get Trader Joe's. They have them almost everywhere. But I do find that sometimes, you know, you can kind of get that alcohol flavor in there, especially when things aren't cooked. And so if that's a big trigger for you, just look for that alcohol-free vanilla. A little bit more cinnamon. I went too low on that. Used the wrong measuring spoon. Okay. So we got this all mixed up. If you're just using a hand mixer or a KitchenAid, you know, you're probably done like years ago. But, you know, sometimes when you're having an attack, the noise can be really loud. And so I like to find ways to do it just manually too, if you're having one of those days. Sometimes working through things very methodically like this actually seems to be a good distraction from, you know, everything else going on. So I'm going to show you how to measure your flour the best way. Got oat flour. And we are going to measure out about 1 1/4 cups of oat flour. Here's my 1 cup. Got 1 1/2, 3/4. Okay, maybe 3/4. I have a 1/2 cup over there. I like a little math today. Okay, so we just want to scoop out our flour like this with a spoon. This is called the scoop and level method. You don't just want to dig your measuring cup into the flour, because that will actually give you a lot more flour than a recipe calls for. Okay, got the oats, one in. I do this twice since I couldn't find my measuring cup. How's everyone doing this? Everyone getting through okay?
I think my puff pastries are done.
Oh, okay. Well, just take them out of the oven and let them sit. Oh, mine are done. Perfect timing. You were right before me. Okay, I'm gonna drag y'all over there. I think we're pretty much done with these. Can y'all still hear me? Hello?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just lost one of my earbuds. All right. Technical difficulties. Here, let me. I guess it's easier if I take these out and pour them over. So let me go grab them. Okay, so these actually look really good. You can kind of see they're a little bit brown on the top and then brown underneath. So I'm actually going to take these out for now and just set them aside. But that's how they should look. Just golden brown on the top, golden brown underneath.
Looks delicious. My thing didn't stick together, so all my points are like up. They still look pretty. They still look pretty.
You know, sometimes that happens. I mean, I use the toothpicks and mine's still puffed up today too.
I'm not going to even show you mine. They're I failed today.
Mine.
I failed the class.
Here are mine. Can you see mine?
Oh, they look great. I think they look perfect.
I will not be showing mine.
I'm kind of proud.
Good. I'm so excited for you guys.
And I have some asparagus for dinner. I'm set.
Yeah. So again, just heat these up in the oven for a few minutes right before you use them, and they'll be good to go. They'll crisp back up perfect. depending on what time zone you're in. Okay, so I've got this pretty much mixed up, the oat flour and everything. I am going to start rolling these into balls and putting them on a baking sheet. I'm gonna start moving a little more quickly since we are really cutting it short on our class time. So sometimes it's easier to just use your fingers to combine these all together. You can also just taste the dough. See if there's anything else you want to add to it.
Alicia, does the milk go in there?
Yes, milk. Thank you. Thank you for whoever reminded me of that.
Or salt?
Yes, pinch of salt. Oh, that's still pretty good. I was wondering why mine looked a little dry. Okay, so we're gonna have, you can add, depending on how dry they are, you can add 2 to 4 tablespoons of milk. See, I'm gonna use oat milk today. I don't see any regular milk in here. Okay. And then, this will make it easier. And then a little pinch of salt.
Just quick question. I didn't see maple syrup on my ingredient list. How much are we supposed to add of that?
There's no maple syrup in it.
Oh, okay. I think then we were just talking about it. I was just confused.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Unless you want to
clarifying.
use it. Unless you want to use it, which is perfectly fine too. Okay, so I think I used a little too much milk. I'm gonna add a little bit more flour. It's good learning lesson to kind of balance it out.
Alicia, do we use the chocolate chips yet?
No, not yet. We're gonna melt those actually. So I'm gonna show you how to do those. These are going to go onto parchment paper, just little tiny scoops. We're going to go into the freezer while we work with the chocolate chips. So if you have like a little cookie baller, that would even be better to work with. I'm just going to move these over here. Just about 2 teaspoons, I would say. Just kind of drop them onto your cookie sheet. These will freeze and harden and be much easier to work with.
Alicia, can we see your cookie sheet?
Yeah. Here.
Thank you.
Just looks like this.
Pretty.
Wow. Okay, I think that's all the ingredients, right? Yeah. Okay. And if you are doing, these are already gluten-free. If you are doing dairy-free, I really like the Enjoy Life white chocolate chips. Those are a good one to use. For the butter, you could use either Earth Balance pressed oils, or you could use coconut oil would work for this recipe too. And again, if you tolerate vegan butters, generally those do have MSG, but if you tolerate them, you can use them as well. So I like those Earth Balance pressed oils. They're pretty good on ingredients. So let's see, mine are a little bit probably larger than I'd like. I'm working with these pretty quickly too.
How big did you say about?
I should have about like 18. I would say about 2 teaspoons each. If you have like one of those little melon ballers, that would work too. I'm just using like a small kitchen spoon. Again, like if you have them larger, that's not going to be an issue. It's just like when you go to bite into them, it'll just be a lot. So sometimes keeping these smaller is better. That way you're still cutting down on your sugar a little bit without making it super noticeable.
You've got a major compliment in the chat. Maybe Mary wants to read it.
Oh, yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
This is from Jennifer Evan. And she
Okay.
said, "Hi, Alicia. I just wanted to tell you that I'm a neurologist and I've referred several dozen patients to your website to look at for migraine diet information and tips.
Good.
Several of them have gotten back to me in the past few months, telling me how helpful your site was and how their migraines have improved so much with the changes to their diet, and they've enacted from your site's help." And then
Oh, that's so exciting.
yes.
Thank you. Well, that made my day. Thank you guys. We are going to try to fit these into our freezer as best we can, which probably means taking out all my son's little things that we eat for now. And hoping they don't get smushed. Oh, they're getting smushed. Let's see if that works. All right. Nothing like cookie dough all over your freezer, right? Try to shove these back in. Okay, so gonna put those into the freezer. I would recommend you do it for at least 30 minutes to an hour, but we don't have that kind of time today. So I put them in with a hope and a prayer, and we're gonna work for the best. So I'm gonna take you over to melt these chocolate chips and show you how to do it the double boiler method, which I think is the best way for melting white chocolate or any type of chocolate, really. So let's kind of break down chocolate a little bit. There's a lot of controversy over chocolate and whether it's a migraine trigger or not. Some people say, I don't know, I can't remember if it's actually been studied or not, but some people say it's actually a craving before you get an attack. And so a lot of people unfairly blame chocolate as a trigger. I have people tell me chocolate is an extreme trigger for them. They can't have any type. I do notice for myself that dark chocolate is really intense for me, and I can't tolerate that in very large amounts at all. Milk chocolate tends to be better for me. So we're all different. But if you are doing a migraine elimination diet, that's kind of where white chocolate comes in, because white chocolate isn't actually chocolate. It is cocoa butter. So cocoa butter is extracted from chocolate, but all those solids that tend to be a little bit more triggering for people get removed. Dr. Beh actually goes into the breakdown of all the parts of chocolate that can be triggering for people in our new Mediterranean migraine diet cookbook. He still believes chocolate is a fairly common trigger for his patients. So I think it comes down to, you just have to test and see what works best for you, and what you want to do. But that's why we're using white chocolate today, because generally it seems to be really well tolerated. It goes well with the Snickerdoodle flavors. So that's why I like to use it for this recipe. I am using Trader Joe's white chocolate baking chips. I like the Ghirardelli baking bars. Those also melt really well. I'm going to show you my double boiler. So let me move you guys without shaking. So just look away while I move you guys over to my stovetop area. Okay, let's see how to set this up. Okay, there we go. I think we're balanced fairly. Okay. Okay, so I have a pot that's filled with a little bit of water about halfway. I'm using an oven safe or a heat safe bowl on top of that. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to turn mine way up. Don't do that when you're normally cooking this. I'm just trying to speed things along. But about medium low heat is best for this. And that's going to heat up. This is called a double boiler method. You can actually buy a double boiler method or a double boiler, like a legit one. I've been cooking for years and have never invested in one. I just do it this way. So we're going to add our white chocolate chips to this. You want, what did I say? About 1 1/4 cups of white chocolate chips, or roughly 12 ounces of white chocolate.
Is white chocolate bad for dogs like chocolate is?
I have no idea, actually.
I just see your doggy and I was wondering.
Why did, oh, yeah, my dogs are scavengers.
Yeah, well,
especially the white one.
One dropped when I was measuring mine out earlier and I like grabbed it before my dog got it. And I was like, oh, because you said it was made with something else, I was just wondering.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe since it's made with cocoa butter, it wouldn't be a big deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting. No, my big white dog, she loves cheese and butter. So I cannot leave those on the counter or they disappear very fast. Like the other day I was recipe testing a cheesecake and she was up there, walked back into the kitchen, and she was up there. She had like probably half the stick of cheese that was coming to room temperature. So I have to be very careful when I let things come to room temperature.
My goodness, that's hilarious.
She's eaten about 2 pounds of American cheese with all the slices in between them. So I had it like grated out for queso one time and went to go put my son down and came back and she was head first in all of it, had eaten all the papers. So we had to go make her throw up at the vet.
Oh.
So. Yeah, I think we
It's
paid
amazing
for a new wing at the vet with all the things she's eaten.
It's amazing how strong their noses are.
Yes, I know. And it's just butter and cheese. Like I could leave anything else out and she wouldn't touch it, but I guess that's the like golden retriever thing. I don't know. So anyway, you can see these. This is a very gentle method. So I know a lot of people just stick it in the oven. The problem I find with that is that it's really hard to get your chocolate perfectly melted to just that point before you start to overcook it. So while this seems a little more complicated, I think it's best for beginners because you don't want to overcook that chocolate. Because it'll seize up. So if you've ever had chocolate just dry up on you or get crumbly when you melt it, that's the thing, like you've cooked it too long. So it can be kind of a tricky thing. So that's kind of why I like this method a lot for melting chocolate. Any kind of chocolate really, but it's just super gentle. The thing that you have to watch for when doing this, and if you're just starting, I would probably use a little bit of a bigger bowl with higher sides. But as the water heats up, it might start to simmer and come up and over, and the steam in the water can get into your chocolate. And actually, water can make your chocolate seize up too. So you just want to be careful about that as well. Generally, you can get past it with just whisking it really, really hard, and it'll start to come together again. But I have seen some people who have ruined their chocolate many times just from
And
these
have to
two
start over.
things.
Yep, and have to start over from the beginning.
Yes, which is just kind of frustrating, and you feel like it's a waste of food too.
Yeah.
So
Well, we know we're running over a little bit. We hope you all can stay with us. We also, I think in your messages, we wanted to have some breakout rooms after our event. So again, we thank you for being on. This is so awesome, Alicia. And we hope that you all can stay and then join some breakout rooms, especially we're going to have breakout rooms for Philadelphia, Boston, Phoenix, Chicago, Miami, New York, and San Francisco after. So please, hopefully stay on and join us after. So I just wanted to mention that.
That sounds like a super fun time. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I always usually run over these because I get to chatting, and normally it doesn't take this long. You know, I just have a chatty Kathy here.
Yeah. No, they're always a ton of fun.
Good.
I just want to people,
I know. I'm kind of rushing through these. But...
And it's really melting now. Look at that.
Yes. So yeah, you can kind of see it's really starting to melt down. So we're almost there. Just keep mixing it.
Upset I had the wrong flour.
Oh yeah, that's too bad.
But I'm gonna make it.
I should probably put that in the. I do in my recipes online. I say no steel cutouts, but I try to specify rolled oats, but I think people don't always know the difference too.
Yeah. No, you did. You did write rolled oats.
Okay, good.
When I was at the grocery store, I just thought that's what I had. Yeah. I just thought,
good.
Yeah. So you wrote it. I just had the wrong thing at home.
All right. Well, at least we worked through all those different flours that you can, and why you don't use like raw all-purpose flour.
Right. I mean, I didn't know about regular flour.
So I'm going to turn this off. This is like, you might just have like a few little like chips in there that haven't fully melted, but that's what you want. You just want it to be super smooth like this. And those will end up melting with the other heat around the other heat from your white chocolate. So we're going to just remove this, and I'm going to take you guys back to my workspace. So look away if you get dizzy. We're going to move back over here. Yeah, I would have loved to have made like a little mocktail today or something, but I think, right, you know, I always go over on the time. So this is working out pretty good. So again, these are going to be sit for much longer in your freezer, so they can harden up well, but because we're in a time crunch, I'm going to take them back out. Okay. Oh, actually mine are decent. They're not terrible. Okay. So what you're going to do is just take one of your little frozen balls, drop it in the chocolate. Okay. Move it all around. Use a little spoon, scoop it back out, and put it back on your baking sheet, just like that, okay? Let me do this with you.
Can you move your camera a little bit?
Yes, Oh, down. There we go.
Thank you.
Like that one, I'm missing a little bit. So you can scoop out the white chocolate and put it on it. So the white chocolate, you're gonna put these back in the freezer or in the fridge, whichever you prefer. I prefer to store mine in the freezer. And they will harden up. They will get that nice hard shell on them. One thing to do, if you want these to be a little bit decorative, like say, you know, you could use like gold sprinkles on top for like something very New Year's or Christmassy. You could use like red and green ones.
Alicia, did you say you can overcook the chocolate?
What?
Did you say you can overcook the chocolate? I was just curious.
Yes, yes. So you can, and when that happens, so I'm just going to show you guys really quick. I like to use a little pinch of cinnamon on top, and you want to do this before it dries. You can see some of them are kind of drying already, so I want to get it on it. Put a little pinch of cinnamon on top. It's really pretty and decorative too, but I've already got this one kind of hardening a little bit.
Alicia, are you going to be able to send out the recipes? Are we able to send those out afterwards? Somebody's asking.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to post the chicken artichoke one. So those will go on my website. And then the Snickerdoodle ball recipe is actually in my first cookbook, The Dizzy Cook. So let me check with my publisher on if they're okay with me sending that out through email. But if you want the recipe right away, it's in the cookbook too.
Alicia, do you have any mocktails that you would recommend to go along with the chicken recipe from earlier?
Yeah, so I would probably, because it's such like, you know, kind of rich buttery flavors, I would do something really, really light. So I would probably do an herbaceous. So what I usually like to do is some kind of sparkling water with a splash of juice. But I would go with like a pear juice, actually, would be really nice with that. And whatever herb you like. So if you like, I like it with rosemary. So like smack that rosemary between your hands, kind of get it a little warmed up, and put that in the glass with the sparkling water, some ice, and the pear juice. And that would be really, really nice with this. Back to overcooking the chocolate. If you overcook the chocolate, you will notice, because the chocolate will start to separate or like kind of seize up and get like grainy. It won't be smooth like how mine was. It'll be kind of like powdery. It just gets to be a really like weird texture. And if that happens, you usually have to start over. I've had some people be able to salvage it with whisking it, but adding anything to it will kind of change the texture, and then it won't harden the same when you put it into the freezer. So it's just one of those better safe, and just try to do it right the first time.
Thank you for that. I was just curious what it looked like after.
Yeah. you will know. It will be very obvious. Yeah, that's one comment I get a lot on my white chocolate recipes is people tend to overcook it, and it's just better to be careful up front. So these aren't my prettiest Snickerdoodle balls, but again, we're working very quickly. When you have more time and you can really freeze these and work with the but I find that people don't really care about the way they look because they taste so good anyway. These make great gifts, actually, because You just keep them in the freezer. You can make them all, you know, in one day. Keep them in your freezer. And then just put them in like a little tin or something like that. Okay, so here's what's happening. It's not great, but since these aren't frozen fully, they're starting to melt when I put them into my white chocolate. So that's why it's better to have these fully frozen before you try to do this. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. But you all get the gist, right?
Yeah. How long do you typically freeze them for? A half hour or more?
Yeah, so I would freeze the little dough balls for like half an hour to an hour.
Okay.
And then put these back in the freezer for like 30 minutes to an hour, and they'll be perfect. They'll harden right up again. But you can kind of see they're already starting to harden a little bit.
Yeah.
But you want that crunchy outer shell with like the soft truffle inside, and that's kind of how you'll get it is by putting them back in the fridge or the freezer.
Do you store them in the freezer, or where do you store them?
Yes, I
Okay.
store them in the freezer, and they'll last for like 3 to 4 months. They usually don't make it past that, so that's why I say 3 to 4 months. But yeah, they store great in the freezer, so you can hang on to them. What I really like about these two is they kind of limit you, like again, like I talked about with sugar, pairing these with a meal, you know, you just want to watch the amount of sugar you're eating too. And so that's what I like about these is it's just like one small thing that you can kind of hit that sugar craving without having to eat a bunch of, you know. So by keeping them in your freezer, you're not going to keep going through it like you would if a cake is out or cookies are out or something like that. It's tucked away a little bit more, so you don't always have it in front of you. That's tempting.
Out of sight,
That's
out of mind.
it. We're done.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Alicia.
You're welcome. I hope everyone learned a lot, and I hope you enjoy your meals tonight. You have to let me know how your puff pastries turn out, because it'll help me write this post, and I'll try to get that up within the next week. But yeah, you guys can always feel free to email me. I'm Alicia at thedizzycook.com, or message me on Instagram. And I can help you like troubleshoot any of this, or if you didn't have something turn out, just let me know. We can work through it together. You can send me a picture or whatever, and I'm happy to help with that too. I think that's everything.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Mary, thank you so much too for being our fabulous host today.
My pleasure.
And
Are we doing
yeah.
a cookbook giveaway?
Yes,
We are.
Mary.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, as we heard that there is a birthday today in our group, Michelle, you are the winner of our cookbook. So congratulations to you and happy birthday. You are the winner of our the Mediterranean Migraine Diet cookbook by Alicia. And again, we hope you all enjoyed our lovely presentation, or rather Alicia's presentation.
Yep. So thank you
Yeah,
all.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Michelle. And I believe we have all of your information. Am I correct about that, Helen? I think we have all of the information we need to send you the cookbook.
Yep, I have it.
Yep, so you will get the cookbook in the mail, and we will when you guys we will put a link up for the breakout rooms, and you will be able to choose which breakout room you would like to join. And again, Alicia, thank you so much for everything. And
thank you, Katie. Just real quick, I'll kind of talk about the differences between the two cookbooks.
Sure.
Just really quick,
Yeah.
so people know. The Mediterranean Migraine Diet book, it's not an elimination diet based. It's about kind of what you should be eating for overall brain health. So we do talk about like why certain foods tend to be more triggering than others, and That's where my neurologist, Dr. Beh, comes in with a lot of the science. So he actually breaks down science behind why some people react to tomatoes or some people react to chocolate, and what those components are in the book. Oh, thank you, Katie. It's perfect. But if you're past the elimination phase, or you already know your food triggers, or you don't have any food triggers and you just want to eat well for overall brain health, that's the book you want to go for. If you're very new to this chronic migraine, your neurologist has suggested an elimination diet or the Johns Hopkins migraine diet. That's where the Dizzy Cook will be really helpful for you. It focuses on what you can eat as well, but also, you know, kind of gives you the breakdown of where you can shop, what are your pantry staples. So it just makes that diet a little bit easier to handle if it's been recommended to you by your neurologist. So that's the difference.
All my tabs, tabs at the top of them.
The Dizzy Cook cookbook is like more comfort food focused. It's got like things like mac and cheese without H cheese in it. The Mediterranean migraine diet is a little more adventurous and Mediterranean inspired. So the recipes are a little bit different too. But that's why these Snickerdoodle balls are in that first cookbook.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we'll certainly have an event or two with Alicia next year on our events committee team, you know, events. So we will see her next year as well. So we hope to see you back for our events next year too. And with that, we hope you all have a fantastic holiday season too.
And we're going into breakout rooms, right, Katie?
We're going into breakout rooms. Yep. So we hope to see you in those breakout rooms, and you'll be able to choose which room you want to go to. And Helen's going to do that. So. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.